At a young age, I remember visiting my great-grandpa and asking about a picture frame with awards hung up on the wall when he first served in the Air Force. My great-grandpa explained his experience in World War II. A few years later, after my great-grandfather had passed, we kept his awards hung up. When I heard of the Young American Creative Patriotic Art Contest, I recalled my great-grandpa. I wanted to make a piece that portrayed my great-grandpa and his efforts in World War II. I discussed the memory of my great-grandfather and found documents we had saved after he passed. I found documents dating back to his service in September 1941 to 1945. From the Department of Commerce, verifying Fred R. Micklon, my great-grandfather, is permitted to operate licensed radio telephone stations. I made sure to include this in my piece with the text in the background. My great-grandfather worked in the Air Force, building and fixing planes to sent to war. I remember hearing stories that my great-grandfather might have worked on the Enola Gay, the first aircraft to drop the atomic bomb in warfare. I painted a model in this piece of the airplane he worked on. I made sure to paint a portrait to make this piece an accurate memory of my grandfather. I hope when people view this image, they can see my idea of who my great-grandfather was and how he helped protect our country. So hello and welcome to my video. In this video, I'll be discussing the VFW piece I made for Veterans Day. So this is a piece I made inside my senior year of high school, and this was actually last year's Veterans Day, and there was an art competition I participated in, and it took a while to get the results from the art competition back, and so that's why I'm editing this video now. So basically, to talk about what you just saw with the art and what I just read. So I made a personal connection and went with my idea of my grandfather. My great grandpa was an active soldier of the Air Force. I mean, not soldier, but participated in the Air Force. And so I did a painting of a soldier holding a gun, and then I did like I said earlier, I did a portrait of my great grandfather as the way I knew him. And then you'll see later, but I painted his medals that he received from his service, and then I painted a model of his airplane that he worked on. And this piece, I actually really enjoyed working on this piece. I had a lot of fun. I didn't really expect to get far inside the competition. I was just doing this out of honor and, for my great-grandfather and memory of him. And I also really just, I don't know, I thought that this personal connection was better than the piece I had first made. The piece I first made was it was a silhouette of the soldiers holding up the American flag with like a sunset and some clouds in the background. And I painted that on a slab of wood. But I didn't feel personally connected to it at all, and I felt like I needed to go further. And so I researched my great-grandfather and thank you to my grandma. My grandma helped supply all of the information and gave me some background information and helped me research about my grandfather so that I could make this painting. And so this was some of the medals that he received inside war, and I used these as a reference, and I painted these, and I also used a outliner. I made the portrait a little less realistic. I made it more cartooned. Looking back on it, I wish I went realism, like full realism, but I am still happy with the way it came out. But like I said, I didn't expect to get too far inside this competition, this art competition. That wasn't really my intent. But I did end up doing really well. So what happened was I submitted this piece to the VFW art competition, and I won for the state of Connecticut. And so I got a monetary prize, and I got to read the speech that I just read in front of the Women's VFW Association, and it was really pretty cool. I had to travel like an hour or so to get to. I traveled with my grandma and my grandpa, and I read it in front of them, the speech. It was pretty nerve-wracking, I'm not gonna lie, but it was a lot of fun. And then to put my piece on display. And I didn't rank inside the national competition, the rankings. And this was kind of expected, because if you look at the national rankings for the VFW art competition, there's some really, really good artists out there that do hyper-realistic portraits and hyper-realisms, and I just think that this was a fun piece to make for me personally, and I didn't really expect to get too far anyways. But as you can see right here inside this video, or this part of the video, I ended up writing out all of the documents that I found with my grandma, and it was basically confirming that my grandfather was allowed to use radio telephone systems, And then I wrote these all up, and I wrote this up with his like birth certificate and all, or like all the information I had about him. Basically, I wrote this all up on a Google document, and then I collaged it to the background of my watercolor piece. And I didn't really have a plan going into it. I just wanted it to look like a collage or a collection of information into one painting. And I really think that added a lot to the piece, the way that it was just like all put together in not a set grid way. It wasn't like set. I just liked the way that it, all fit together pretty nicely. And this was the way the final piece looked, and I was really happy with the way it came out. I'm glad I did well in the competition, and I'm glad I could honor my great-grandfather with this piece. And so I thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.